The hobgoblin war machine is not slowed for a second by the infiltration by the party of the Thieves Guild in Southwood Head. Perhaps Taichou Hiragana was either unaware of the recovery of the thaumatic actuator from Gaston Macready's shop or dismissed the whole event as insignificant. Either way, this was to prove a fatal flaw in his plan. The late Sheriff Bartholomew Wright did not underestimate the threat posed by the hobgoblins to his adopted home of Quarry Hill. It's not long after the return of the heroes to the town, the funeral of Sheriff Wright, and the resurrection of the construct, which the party nicknamed Doris, that the goblinoid threat is visible on the horizon. The attack begins with bombardment by catapult. Not just rocks, but goblins wielding burning torches are also used as ammunition. The main body of the offensive is a tight formation of hobgoblins, which Jenny breaks up with a well-placed spell, sowing confusion among the ranks. In disarray, the hobgoblins reach the gates, only to be met by Doris, who tears dutifully through their ranks while the mercenaries hired by Quarry Hill pepper the floundering invaders with arrows. Flanking the main invading force, the party tracks down one of the catapults. Although the artillery piece is heavily defended, the heroes successfully disable it and close with the Taichou himself for the final showdown. While the bulk of the party deals with Hiragana's elite guard, including two enormous hobgogers, Auld Jenny sneaks into the warlord's field tent, only to be greeted by a member of the Iron Shadows. The hobgoblin secret agent laughs off Auld Jenny's suggestion that the invaders should surrender, but as the two women settle down to discussions over a tea ceremony, it's obvious that the turning tide of battle will force the hobgoblins to the negotiating table. Jenny goes so far as to convince the Iron Shadow to try a tea of the sorceress's own brewing, leveraging the hobgoblin's own pride to get a drink something that is clearly anything but normal tea. Outside, the other members of the party are exhausted by the time the Taichou's retinue was brought down. It's all they can do to stay out of range of Hiragana's devastating sword work and use what range attacks they have to defeat the hobgoblin general. Taking the Taichou alive was Cecile receiving his exquisitely crafted katana. The remaining hobgoblins rout, falling back to Southwood Head. Inside the palisade hastily constructed around Quarry Hill, it's clear that the casualties amongst the defenders have been mercifully light. The Maester of Port Sovereign, Crispin Collegietz, makes an appearance not long after the battle, bringing firmly secured crates containing mind-reading Nothics hungry for knowledge in order to interrogate the captured Taichou. Unable to contain her curiosity, Qadira volunteers for a session with one of the Maester's Nothics, number 3. During this ill-advised encounter, the vile creature turns its single, baleful eye on Qadira and picks the knowledge of the death of Inquisitor Price clean out of the young wizard's head. It's about this time that a letter from Bryce Richter arrives for Elora too. Amongst other things, the Chamberlain of the Port Sovereign Mint has tracked down 𝗖𝗍𝗱𝗀𝗍, the killer of both Richter's son and Elora's sister, to a slave ship by the name of the Woman Scorned, which is at port in Cape Firth, where the party's journey first began. Arriving at Cape Firth, the party finds the ship flying drow livery, exploiting the diplomatic immunity that comes from providing a base for the drow ambassador to the Trove Islands. The boorish Tycho Borax is the captain of the Woman Scorned. He has no interest in handing 𝗖𝗍𝗱𝗀𝗍 over, and he only provides access to a ship when the party successfully convinces him that they are part of the Inquisition based in Port Sovereign. Skulking below decks is a rogues gallery of the party's foes, both drow and hobgoblins. The latter have been using the ship to transport slaves taken from Southwood Head to a port on the Kriegsring. It is interesting to note that the two factions are able to peacefully share a ship with one another, suggesting some level of collusion. The party can't avoid a fight as they search the lower decks of the Woman Scorned for Tove. The drow ambassador, Vrumadi, is killed in the fighting. Who knows to what extent this could strain the relations between the drow and Port Sovereign. As the dust settles, most of 𝗖𝗍𝗱𝗀𝗍's wretched gang are dead, and 𝗖𝗍𝗱𝗀𝗍 himself is bound and in the party's captivity. So long as Elora can get Tove back to Port Sovereign, she is owed 1,000 gold pieces by Bryce Richter. However, the Wood Elf, having caught up with her tormentor, slips away from the party to exact her reckoning on the deplorable former gang ringleader. Personal revenge is more important to her than money. Somewhere quiet and out of sight is where she exacts it. Back in Port Sovereign, hoping to make good on the reward anyway, the party hears rumours that the mayoral candidate, Kristen Leftfield, has been kidnapped. However, the party has business with the city council, of which Collegietz and Richter are only 2 members. The group's reception is mixed. A drow sent to replace the ambassador killed aboard the Woman Scorned, this one a direct relative of the Queen herself, has issued demands. The death of the new ambassador's predecessor aboard the Woman Scorned is a major slight against the drow, but the recovery of a certain item, something called the memory orb, from what Ambassador 𝗖𝗍𝗻 calls the land of the exiles, will do as reparation. The Forsaken region on the north end of the main Trove Island is where Queen Ariadne had 𝗿𝗿𝗱𝗍𝗍's monstrous Dryder population unceremoniously dumped in an attempt to improve the Dark Elven capital's image on the world stage. It is in this Dryder region where the drow have also sold mining rights back to the native Trove Islanders, claiming the land of the exiles as their territory due to the presence of the Dryder in a brazen display of manipulative diplomacy. Qadira secures a meeting with Maester Collegetts, who has apparently wasted no time in coming back to Port Sovereign after the Battle of Quarry Hill himself. Collegetts has been speaking with his 𝗏𝗏𝗏, number 3, after its meeting with Qadira. The 𝗏𝗏𝗏 relayed to its master the group's grubby secret regarding the missing Inquisitor. Qadira counters that number 3 told her that its master is more than he seems to be, and leverages this tidbit to get yet more money out of the city's coffers than that promised by Bryce Richter's reward. En route to the Dryder region, the group are attracted by an unholy aura coming from some Archean ruins at the side of the road. Cultists accompanied by putrescent devils are leading a maiden to a portal. Understandably taking the situation at face value, the heroes throw caution to the wind and come to the aid of the maiden. Rescuing her, she turns out to be from a local village. The portal remains open. Whether it is curiosity or further heroism that leads the party through, only its members can say. They emerge below ground in some sort of catacombs flanked on all sides by walls of meticulously stacked bones. How far the company has travelled is uncertain, although the architectural style is still Archean. Slonging its way through resurrected members of the long-lost Archean civilization and more of the misshapen devils first encountered above ground, the party discovers the chamber where the maiden was doubtless to be led had she not been rescued. A 7-pointed heptagram, the symbol of the Archduke of Hell, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, dominates the floor. The cultists and their neatly grey-bearded leader, despite having diabolical magical boons at their disposal, are more easily dispatched than the fiends who have protected them so far. This intervention by the party spares another maiden from the sacrificial knife, this one no less than Kristen Leftfield, the mayoral candidate. The party see it as vital that Kristen has gotten back to the safety of the walls of Port Sovereign. The errand for the drow ambassador to get the memory orb can go whistle until then. Hearing that her mayoral campaign has cost Kristen a good chunk of her family's wealth, Hrafn and Qadira stump up much of what little money they have to help her out. Upon the party's return to the city, Kristen gives a rousing speech to the populace, playing her image of the Immaculate Maiden against the corruption rife in the city. Apparently, the leader of the cult from which Kristen had just been rescued was Professor Eldon Malik, a fellow at the Arcane Academy. Recently, there has also been trouble in the Shambles, one of the worst slums in the city, where devil cults loyal to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 have been fighting with demon cults loyal to Baphomet. With some experience dealing with fiendish cults under its belt, the party decides to weigh into the Shambles to see if it can sort out rumour from reality. Sure enough, several squalid cult gangs are feuding block to block. However, on Droopy Loop Bridge, which crosses a river in the most densely packed area of the tenements, the party face Pumpkinhead, a gangling, squash-headed avatar brought to life as the result of the local maelstrom of diabolical energy and seasonal celebrations of the dead. Pumpkinhead is a tough, foul-mouthed foe who summons skeletons to fight alongside it. However, once it is defeated, Hrafn finds an exquisite suit of plate armour amongst Pumpkinhead's fading remains. A local soul, grateful for the pacification of the neighbourhood, asks after the name of the hero's group. Hrafn replies on behalf of them all, the Stalwart Defenders. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to follow the adventure as it continues to unfold. Thanks also to the great Callathiforay players, past and present, for their characters' backstories and for their role in creating the world.